The sun was still rising when Rafiq stepped through the school gates. His shoes were dusty, his shirt a size too big, and his notebook was held together by a rubber band. He had never seen buildings this tall before, or so many students dressed in polished uniforms. Back in his village, there was only one teacher, one classroom, and one rule: speak when spoken to. Now everything felt loud, fast, bright. The school bell rang like a siren. Children rushed past him like he didn't exist. He tightened his grip on his bag, took a deep breath, and walked into Class 9B. The teacher, a tall woman with sharp glasses, glanced at him from behind her desk. Name? She asked, without looking up. He cleared his throat. My name is Rafiq. It was the way he said it, teased instead of as that did it. One boy snorted. A girl giggled. Then the laughter spread like fire through the room. Some students clapped mockingly. Others repeated his sentence in a cartoon voice. My name is Rafiq. He stood frozen. His face turned red. He didn't know whether to speak again or sit down. The teacher looked at him and smirked, shaking her head. You'll have to work on your English, and your accent. Rafiq slowly walked to the empty seat in the last row. He didn't look up for the rest of the class. Every time someone laughed, he felt like it was about him, even if it wasn't. At lunch, no one came near him. When he opened his lunchbox, 2 boys sitting nearby pinched their noses and walked away. He ate in silence, at home. His mother greeted him with a smile. How was school, beta? He nodded weakly. Good. She didn't ask more. She just handed him a plate of rice and quietly began sewing clothes by candlelight. Later that night, while everyone was asleep, Rafiq stood in front of the mirror. He looked at his reflection and whispered, my name is Rafiq. Then again, my name is Rafiq. Then slower, my name is Rafiq. He tried to copy the voice of the newscasters he'd heard on the tiny radio his uncle once gave him. Deep voice, polished tone, clear English. But every time he spoke, something felt off. He could hear the accent, the village clinging to his voice like wet mud. He didn't stop. He stood there for 30 minutes. Then an hour. He repeated sentence after sentence. His throat dried up. His feet ached. But he didn't stop. Outside his window, a faint rustling sound echoed. He didn't hear it. He was too focused. But someone was standing there. A boy from school, Danish, the same one who had laughed the loudest earlier that day. He had followed Rafiq home out of curiosity. But now, as he watched from behind the tree, a cruel idea sparked in his mind. He pulled out his phone, hit record. Inside, Rafiq kept practicing. He didn't know he was being filmed. He didn't know the video would be shared that very night. He didn't know that by morning, half the school would be laughing again, but louder, and this time, not just inside the classroom. This time it would be everywhere. By morning, the video had already spread through school like wildfire. It was barely 20 seconds long, just Rafiq in his dim room, standing in front of a cracked mirror, repeating, my name is Rafiq. My name is Rafiq. His voice was shaky, his accent heavy. But what made it viral wasn't what he said, it was how Danish captioned it. Meet Shakespeare from the village. Laughter echoed in the hallways long before the bell rang. Students passed Rafiq and coughed ee's under their breath. Someone stuck a paper on his back that said Grammar King. Even the gatekeeper chuckled as he entered. In class, the teacher didn't say a word about the video, but the smile playing on her face said enough. Rafiq didn't cry. He didn't complain. He just sat there still, silent, and staring at the blackboard like it held the answers to a world he didn't belong in. At break time, he went to the library. It was quiet there, dusty but peaceful. He walked to the English shelf and picked up an old torn grammar book. The pages were yellow, some missing, but he held it like gold. He carried the book everywhere after that. At lunch, on the school van, at home, beside his pillow, he read aloud softly when no one was listening. One evening, while waiting for the water to boil at home, he listened to the radio. A woman was speaking in English, but differently, smoother, softer. The accent wasn't the same as the teacher's. It was British. He leaned in. That night he borrowed his cousin's old half-broken radio and sat under a blanket listening to BBC News for hours. Every time he heard a sentence, he'd pause and repeat it, over and over. He started mimicking voices, deep ones, fast ones, calm ones, British, American, even one in French, that he didn't understand but loved how it sounded. The mocking continued at school. They called him a talking parrot. Danish even added background music to the video and re-uploaded it, but something had shifted inside Rafiq. The shame was still there, but now, it lived beside something stronger, a quiet fire. He made a promise to himself. Every time they laugh at my voice, I'll add one more word to my vocabulary. By the end of the month, he had memorized 300 new words. By the next month, he was speaking in full sentences, accented but steady. Then, one afternoon, something happened. During English class, the teacher asked a question about a difficult paragraph. No one answered, not even Danish. Rafiq raised his hand. The teacher looked surprised. She called on him with a smile that said, let's see you embarrass yourself again. Rafiq stood, cleared his throat, and in slow but confident words, explained the passage, not just its meaning, but its tone, the mood, even the hidden metaphor. The class was silent. For the first time, no one laughed. The teacher blinked. Did someone help you with this? No, he said. I listened to something similar on BBC. I wrote it down, practiced it. The teacher looked at him for a moment, then turned away, pretending to look for chalk, but from the front row, Danish narrowed his eyes. Later that evening, as Rafik walked home, he saw a figure behind him in the reflection of a window. He turned, but no one was there. He reached home, locked the door, and sat to study. But outside his window, in the shadows, someone was watching. Again, not laughing this time, not mocking, but waiting. Because what Rafik didn't know was that Danish had a new plan. And this time, it wouldn't be a joke. The next morning felt strange, not silent, just too normal. Like a storm had passed or worse, was waiting. Rafik entered the classroom expecting the usual laughter, but nothing came. Danish didn't say a word. No one whispered Grammar King. The paper notes were gone. Even the teacher gave him a polite nod. For the first time in weeks, he breathed without fear. During lunch, something even stranger happened. Danish walked over to Rafik's table. Hey, he said casually. That was impressive yesterday. The way you explained the passage. Rafik looked up stunned, unsure if he'd heard right. I mean it, Danish said. I was thinking maybe you could help me too. You're clearly learning fast. Rafik blinked. You want help? Danish laughed lightly. Yeah, I want to get into the debate team this year. And honestly, you've got this. Confidence now. He put out his hand. Friends. It felt unreal. Like someone flipped the world upside down. Rafik hesitated, then slowly shook his hand. That evening, for the first time in a long time, he walked home smiling. Maybe things were changing. That night, Danish messaged him. Bro, can you help me with pronunciation? I'll send you some recordings. Just correct me. Rafik agreed. Every night he spent hours correcting Danish's voice notes, writing scripts, even translating difficult phrases. Danish praised him, thanked him, called him Coach Rafik, felt seen, respected. Until 3 weeks later, the school organized its annual multilingual showcase. Students had to present speeches in different languages. It was optional, but Rafik signed up, quietly. An English poem, translated into French. He'd been practicing it for weeks. The day before the event, he saw his name at the very bottom of the list, and at the top, Danish Ali. My journey through languages, Rafik froze. When Danish took the stage, he spoke flawlessly. Fluent English, sharp French, even some Spanish. Word for word, sentence by sentence. It was Rafik's work. The room erupted in applause. The teacher praised Danish for his brilliant effort. One judge even said, "You have the natural tone of a native speaker." Rafik's turn came. His voice shook. His memory went blank. Halfway through the poem, he stopped. His throat dried up. The silence that followed hurt more than any laughter. He stepped off stage with tears burning in his eyes. Later, near the water cooler, he confronted Danish. "You used my words." Danish smiled, sipping his drink. "I improved. Thembra, I just presented it better. You asked for help. I asked. You gave. That's how the world works. Learn it." He patted Rafik's shoulder. "Don't take it personally. You're a good helper." That night, Rafik didn't sleep. He stared at the cracked ceiling of his small room, clenching his fists. The betrayal stung, but something deeper settled in, a kind of calm rage. He whispered to himself, "I won't be anyone's helper. Be the voice they follow." The next day, he did something bold. He signed up for an online public speaking contest, international level, English only. No one from his school would know. It was risky. He had no one to guide him, just YouTube videos, grammar, books, and his late-night BBC radio. He recorded a 2-minute speech on why every accent tells a story. Then he hit send. 1 week passed, then 2. And then on a rainy Thursday morning, his phone buzzed. "Congratulations. Your video has been shortlisted. You are now one of 50 finalists from around the world." He gasped. No one at school knew, but far away, in a room full of judges and microphones, someone had finally heard his real voice. And what Rafik didn't know was one of those judges had just forwarded his speech to someone powerful, someone who would soon change everything. But for now, Rafik had one mission: speak not to impress, but to be unforgettable. Rafik didn't tell anyone at school about being not Danish, not the teachers, not even the librarian who used to secretly hand him grammar books. He didn't want more false smiles. This time, it wasn't about proving anything to anyone else. It was personal. The international competition finals were to be held virtually, streamed live in front of a panel of judges from 5 different countries. Each finalist had to prepare a 3-minute original speech on the theme, Power of Language to Unite. Rafik had never spoken for 3 full minutes in front of a real audience before, not even in his native language. He practiced late at night when the streets outside were quiet. He watched videos of speakers, recorded himself, played it back. He noticed his tone, the stress on each word, the rhythm. He didn't try to hide his accent anymore. Instead, he spoke from it with it, like it belonged there. The night before the final, he was up past midnight, pacing the small kitchen. His mother, half asleep, asked, "Are you okay, Beta?" He smiled. "Tomorrow, I speak to the world." She didn't understand much English, but she nodded and whispered, "Then speak with your heart." Next day, Rafiq wore his school uniform, creased but clean. He sat in the corner of the public library, borrowed their Wi-Fi, and joined the Zoom link with trembling fingers. Finalist after finalist spoke, confident kids from Paris, New York, Tokyo, smooth, polished voices, perfect grammar. Then it was his turn. The screen flashed Rafiq Ahmed, Pakistan. He cleared his throat and began. I was laughed at for my English, not because I spoke wrong, but because I spoke different. He paused. But today, I thank the ones who laughed, because they made me fall in love with this language. Not just English but words, all words. Because language isn't how you sound, it's what you mean. He told them about his journey, how being mocked made him curious, how he now learned language is not to impress, but to connect, how his accent wasn't broken, it was born from stories, struggle, and second chances. His voice cracked near the end. But if even one person, watching me now, feels small because of their voice, remember this. Your voice is not an apology, it's a passport, to places even fear cannot reach. When he finished, there was silence. Then one of the judges, an older woman from Spain, unmuted and said, "Thank you, Rafiq," was truth. The screen went dark after that. He didn't know what the result would be, but something had changed inside him. For the first time, he wasn't afraid of being misunderstood. He was proud of every sound he made. The next morning, at school, Danish was bragging again, this time about being chosen to represent their class in a city-level English contest. Rafiq stayed quiet. Until, during assembly, the principal took the mic. "We have an important announcement. One of our students has brought international recognition to our school." Everyone turned their heads. Rafiq Ahmed has won second place in the World Voices contest, competing against 49 finalists from around the globe. Gasps, whispers, a few jaws dropped. The principal continued. "He will be featured in a national education magazine next month. And one of the judges, Dr. Eliza Ramos from Madrid, has personally invited him to attend her online mentorship program in advanced linguistics." The applause started slowly. Danish's face fell. His smirk faded. But Rafiq didn't look at him. He was staring straight ahead, chest rising and falling, calm, focused. Because what he didn't know yet was that magazine article would soon go viral, and someone very unexpected would read it, someone who once made fun of him, and now desperately needed his help. After the news spread about Rafiq's success in the international contest, life began to shift slowly but surely. The hallways that once echoed with laughter now carried whispers of respect. Even some students who had ignored him before nodded or smiled as he passed by. But Rafiq stayed humble. He knew this was only the beginning, not the end. One afternoon, as he sat quietly in the school library, his phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Hello, Rafiq. My name is Dr. Elisa Ramos. I was a judge in the World Voices contest. Your speech moved me deeply. I run a language mentorship program, and I want you to join. It's virtual, with top linguists from around the world. Are you interested?" Rafiq blinked in disbelief. He stared at the screen for minutes before replying, "Yes, I am." That evening, he shared the news with his mother, who smiled but worried. "It sounds far away. Will you be safe?" "I will be, Ma. This could change everything." Over the next weeks, Rafiq immersed himself in the mentorship. He met students from France, Brazil, Egypt, and Japan. They spoke in different accents, dialects, and tones, but all understood each other perfectly. His mentor, Dr. Ramos, pushed him harder than ever. She challenged his grammar, encouraged his accent, and taught him how to use language as a tool for connection, not perfection. Meanwhile, back at school, Danish grew quieter. He stopped mocking Rafiq openly. Rumors spread that Danish had failed his recent English test. One day, the school announced a special event, a multilingual day, inviting speakers from different backgrounds to share their stories. To everyone's surprise, Rafiq was invited to be the guest speaker. The night before, anxiety gripped him. Memories of mockery and pain surfaced. But so did determination. On the big day, the auditorium was packed. Parents, teachers, students, all waiting. When Rafiq stepped onto the stage, the room fell silent. He began by telling his story, the laughter, the struggles, the secret hours of practice. Then, to everyone's amazement, he spoke 5 languages: English, French, Arabic, Urdu, and Spanish. With each language, his confidence grew. With each sentence, the audience grew more captivated. He ended with a simple message: your voice is your power. Your accent is your story. Don't ever let anyone make you feel small because of it. The applause was thunderous. But as Rafiq stepped down, he noticed someone waiting by the door, an older man in a sharp suit, eyes sharp and calculating. The man introduced himself quietly. "Mr. Hassan Malik, CEO of Linguatech. I want to offer you a scholarship to our International Language Academy. You have a rare gift." Rafiq's heart pounded. This was more than a scholarship. It was a chance to leave everything behind and prove himself on the world stage. But accepting meant leaving his family, his village, his home. As the man's offer hung in the air, Rafiq looked toward the back of the room. Among the crowd sat his mother, her eyes shining with pride and worry. Rafiq didn't sleep that night. The offer from Linguatech echoed in his mind like a drumbeat. A fully paid scholarship to Europe, world-class training, a future that once felt impossible, now one decision away. But the thought of leaving his mother haunted him. The next morning, he sat quietly at breakfast. His mother placed a simple roti on his plate and asked gently, "Tum ni fais la carlia?" He nodded slowly. "Yes, ma, I'm going." Her hand froze midair. For a moment, the silence was louder than any word. She smiled, but her eyes filled with tears. "You're my pride, Beta. I knew this day would come, but promise me something. Never forget your roots." "I won't," he said, his voice tight. "I'll call every week." That afternoon, he visited his old village teacher, Master Salami, who had once taught him the Urdu alphabet on a wooden slate. Master Salami looked at him proudly. "They mocked your accent, Rafiq, but you turned their words into fuel. That's power." Rafiq smiled, "But I still feel scared." "Good," the teacher replied. "If it doesn't scare you, it won't grow you." 2 weeks later, with a single bag and a passport stamped for the first time, Rafiq boarded a plane. He looked out the window as the ground disappeared beneath the clouds. The village, his school, the library where he practiced all fading below him. His heart ached, but it also beat with something new, hope. When he landed in Spain, he was overwhelmed. The sounds, the pace, the faces, it was all new. His host family greeted him warmly, but he struggled to understand their thick Spanish accent. In class, surrounded by brilliant students, he felt small again. The instructors spoke fast. They critiqued every mistake. They pushed him hard. One evening, frustrated and exhausted, Rafiq locked himself in his room and recorded a voice message for his mother. "I'm failing, Ma. Everyone here is smarter. I'm behind in French. My Spanish is clumsy. I don't belong here," she replied after a pause. "Beta, you didn't belong in that broken chair either. But you sat there, and you learned. Do it again." He wiped his tears and began again, one phrase, one sentence, one conversation at a time. Weeks passed. Slowly, things changed. His Spanish grew smoother. His French gained rhythm. He began dreaming in different languages. And something inside him clicked. Then, just as he started finding his feet, a strange email arrived. "Dear Rafiq, we need to talk. Someone from your past is trying to use your name for a new social media project, mocking your old videos. We suggest you handle this before it grows." Rafiq clicked the attached link. It opened to a video. The same clip of him stuttering in class, edited with cruel jokes this time, viral again. And it was posted by Danish, the boy who once called him a joke. Rafiq's hands trembled. He thought that part of his life was behind him, but now, the world was watching again. Rafiq didn't sleep that night. Danish's video had already crossed 200,000 views. People were laughing at Ganat, the old Rafiq, the shy boy with the nervous voice. Comments flooded in, mocking his accent, just like years ago. The pain returned, like a sharp needle, but this time, Rafiq didn't cry. He sat calmly in his small Spanish room, opened his laptop, and typed a message to the program director. "I'd like to speak, publicly, in all 5 languages. The director replied within minutes. "Let's give you the main stage at the International Linguistics Forum. 1 week from now, 15-minute slot." That forum streamed live to over 2 million viewers across Europe. He had 7 days, and he used every single one of them. He practiced in the park with strangers, in the mirror, until dawn. He even video called volunteers from France, Germany, and Morocco to challenge himself with their dialects. By the 6th day, he was ready, but an unexpected message arrived just hours before the event. It was a voice note from Danish. "Bro, I didn't mean to hurt you again. It was just a trend. I didn't think it would explode. I'm sorry. Okay, can you forgive me?" Rafiq stared at the audio for a long time. Then he hit record. "No, Danish, I won't forgive you just because you're scared of the backlash, but I also won't waste my voice on revenge. Today, I speak for every kid who stutters, who hides in the back row, who's been laughed at because of how they sound. I'm not here to cancel you. I'm here to be louder than you ever were." He walked onto the forum stage with nothing in his hands, no notes, no slides, and he began. In fluent Spanish, he spoke of arriving in Madrid feeling like an alien. In confident French, he described his silent nights crying into a pillow. In gentle Arabic, he honored his mother's prayers. In crisp English, he thanked his teacher who taught him courage. And finally, in his native Urdu, he said, "They mocked my accent. But accents aren't flaws. They are fingerprints of where we come from. Today, I speak 5 languages. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove that voices like mine, broken, nervous, imperfect, belong everywhere." When he finished, the hall was silent. Then came the applause. Slow at first, then a thunderous standing ovation. Within hours, clips of his speech were trending. Across social media, the same people who once mocked him were now reposting him with captions like, "I feel seen," and "This man made me cry." But what truly shocked Rafiq was a comment from a well-known linguistics CEO, ***, "We want Rafiq to join our United Nations translation team. 5 languages, 5 reasons to hire him. Someone contact him." Rafiq stared at the screen. His hands clenched. That familiar ache returned, the sting of mockery. Danish had reposted the old clip. edited cruelly with laughing emojis and sarcastic subtitles. It had over 300,000 views already. The caption read, "Remember this kid? He thought he could be a language expert. LOL." Rafiq didn't cry this time. He didn't feel weak. He felt something else. Clarity. He opened his laptop, pulled out his phone, and set up the mic. This time, he wouldn't hide. He would answer not in anger, but in power. He looked straight into the camera and hit record. His voice was calm, but firm. "In this video," he said in fluent Spanish, "you see a scared boy." He switched to French, a boy who barely knew how to speak beyond his village tongue. Then to Urdu, people laughed at him, called him broken. Then, in English, but they didn't know that pain was my professor, and every laugh was a lesson. Today, I speak 5 languages. I work with companies across 3 continents. And the boy you mocked, he didn't disappear, he evolved. He paused, and then he said in Arabic, slowly and gracefully, "Forgive them, for they know not who you're becoming." He ended with a smile, then uploaded the video and titled it simply, "To the Ones Who Laughed." Within hours, it started spreading, first in his village, then among the student networks. Then it hit TikTok, Instagram, YouTube.com and poured in chills. Actual chills. He speaks better French than me and I'm from France. We need this man at TEDx. Danish looks real small now. By morning, BBC Urdu reached out. Then a journalist from Spain. Then NA. An invitation came from a top language conference in Berlin. A week later, he stood on stage in front of thousands, under bright lights. His mother watched from a live stream in her small living room, tears rolling down her cheeks. He told his story, but he didn't make it about revenge. He made it about resilience. He said, "They mocked my accent, so I mastered languages, to prove them wrong but to prove myself right." As he finished, the crowd stood. The applause lasted 4 minutes, and just as he stepped off stage, his assistant rushed over with a message. "Sir, Google Language Initiative just reached out. They want you to lead their multilingual youth project." But that wasn't all. A familiar name had messaged him directly. Danish. It read, "Bro, I'm sorry. I was stupid. I see you now. Please forgive me." Rafiq stared at the message. He didn't reply. Not yet. He looked up at the sky, smiled gently, and whispered, "This time, my silence will speak."